Let us chant the first 10 verses of chapter 6. Shri Bhagavan Anashritha karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragne na chakriyaha yam sannyāsamiti prahuhu yogam tam vidhi pandava nahya sannyasta sankalpaha yogi bhavati kaśchana arurukshor munir yogam karma karanam uchyate yoga rudhasya tasyaiva shama karanam uchyate yada hinendriyatheshu na karma svanushajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhastadochyate uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatprutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukkeshu tatha manapamanayoho jnana vijnana triptatma kutasto vijitendriyaha yukta yutyuchyate yogi samaloštashma kanchanaha suhran mitra yudasena madhyastadeshya bandhushu sadushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasya stitaha ekakiyata chittatma nirashira parigraha.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are starting with chapter 6. Chapter 6 called Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation, containing 47 verses. As we have been studying always, 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita is explaining the aphorism Tattvamasi. The 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita is explaining the aphorism Tattvamasi. So 18 chapters is divided into 3 sets of 6 chapters each. Tat Tvam Asi. The first 6 talks about Tvam, the you, the individual. Then the middle 6 talks about Tat, that. The last 6 talks about the relationship. This is the sequence. In this sequence, again, in this sequence, if you see chapter 1, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despondency. So here is Arjuna, who is despondent and asking Krishna a solution to get out of his despondency. What is the solution to get out of despondency? Knowledge is the solution. So straight away he gives knowledge, Sankhya Yoga, chapter 2. Knowledge is the solution for despondency is something that is difficult to accept, to digest, to practice. Therefore, we always ask, okay, sir, knowledge and all is okay, but what is it that I should do? Okay, knowledge Allah is fine, but what is it that I should do now? What is it that I should do now? The focus is on you. The focus is on you. So you means what? Therefore, you find all the chapters 3, 4, 5 talking about the few. What are the few? First, it talks about you, the jiva, the individual. That's where all the chapters talks about the senses, the mind, the intellect. Having discussed about the senses, the mind, and the intellect, second important aspect that is discussed, which is what the theme of the first 6 is, Karma Yoga. Prayatna, the individual effort. The individual effort is highlighted. Chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and then culminating in meditation, chapter 6. From chapter 7, he will slightly shift the gear and he will talk about the divine grace, culminating in Bhakti Yoga. Are you able to see the difference? Here, he is talking about the effort, the prayatna, the Karma Yoga. The individual, the Karma Yoga. In Karma Yoga, what is he highlighting? What is the highlight of Karma Yoga? The highlight of Karma Yoga is your effort. So right through in Karma Yoga, what is highlighted? Your effort. So Karma Yoga, chapter 3, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, chapter 4, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, chapter 5. When you do all this, what happens? You naturally evolve to a stage of Dhyana Yoga, which is meditation. Again, in Dhyana Yoga, the starting point itself will be from the definition of Karma Yoga, he will start again. If you go into the verses, we will see. If I'm not sure, the first verse, if I'm not mistaken, the very first verse of chapter 6 itself is capsuling the entire 3, 4, and 5 in one verse. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyah sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir nachakriyah. He's talking about Karma Yoga there. So even then, even when he's talking about meditation, I'll come to meditation later. First, we will see the sequence. Chapter 2 is knowledge, Jnana Yoga. What is known as Sankhya Yoga. He didn't call it as Jnana Yoga. It is entitled as Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga means the yoga of knowledge. When a person is despondent, despondency is because of the mind's exaggeration. You get into a despondent situation because the mind exaggerates. Despondency is not because of the situation. Despondency is because of the mind's exaggeration over the situation. And when the mind exaggerates, it will give its own reason and logic. And for that person who's exaggerating, that logic and reason will seem perfectly justifiable, and you cannot talk to that person. You cannot talk to that person after that. It is futile having a reasonable conversation after that. Why? Because they are so justified. Chances are you will get carried away by their justification. Why? Because despondency is when the mind exaggerates the situation. The situation that you created for yourself, the mind exaggerates. Just as the Bhagavad Gita battlefield is not the situation that Arjuna was. It's not that Arjuna was sitting and meditating and studying Upanishadic discourse under some guru. Krishna dragged him into the war. Correct? The war is the situation created by Arjuna. It is not that Krishna created the war and made Arjuna to fight. Arjuna created the situation. He created the situation and the mind exaggerated. He spoke so many things in chapter 1. He spoke personally. Krishna didn't move. He spoke from the society angle. Krishna didn't move. He spoke from the moralist angle. Krishna didn't move. He spoke about women will get corrupted. This will happen. That will happen. Again, Krishna didn't speak a word. How cruel of Krishna to keep a stoic silence when Arjuna is so much talking. Why? All that talk is of no meaning. And to that person, fortunately, what he did in chapter 2, Sishyasteham Shadimam Tuam Prapannam, he said, I am your Sishya. I have surrendered to you. I have surrendered to you. I am your disciple. I have surrendered to you. To that person who has surrendered, Krishna gave the real medicine. What is the real medicine? What is the real medicine? Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. The indestructibility of the embodied. Asato vidyate bhavaha, nabhavo vidyate sataha, ubayorapi drishtontaha, tvanayoho tattvadarshibhihi. What are you talking, Arjuna? What are you talking, Arjuna? Asato vidyate bhavaha, nabhavo vidyate sataha. The entire karma, the entire Sankhya Yoga crux, verses 16-17. Asato vidyate bhavaha, nabhavo vidyate sataha. He spoke all that. Arjuna said, I am not asking for all this. I am asking for idalla na kekala. I am asking, what should I do? What should I do now? If anybody asks, what should I do now? You must understand that person has already decided what to do. Don't give a discourse, sir. Don't immediately give a discourse. If anybody says, what should I do? That person have already decided what to do. And then he asked, what should I do? What is Arjuna already decided? I will not I will not fight. He has already decided. And then asking, what should I do? Krishna gave the knowledge. Arjuna said, Krishna, this is not what I asked for. This is not what I asked for. This action is wrong. What am I going to do by this action? Why are you giving me this sat, asat and all, this sat and asat and all? Why are you talking when I am asking about a Siddha Pragyasya, all the Siddha Pragya he spoke. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha, he spoke. After listening to all this, what Arjuna should have done? He should have prostrated to Krishna and started the fight. After listening to all this, what Arjuna did? All this you spoke, Krishna, is irrelevant to me. The knowledge is not a solution to me. I have given you enough reasons to move away from fighting. Give me one valid reason for me to fight. I have given you all reasons. Satta, Sat and all is not a valid reason as far as I am concerned. Like we also say, sir, and the Vedanta class la kekumbodhu it is, when you are listening to it in the class, it is correct, sir. But in real situation, in life situation, what happens? The entire knowledge is forgotten. What should I? What should I do? Meaning, what you gave as Sankhya Yoga is not a solution. Give me something else. Krishna, being a wonderful guru, understanding Arjuna's starting point from Sankhya Yoga, he brings the discussion down to the level of Karma Yoga. When you are discussing Karma Yoga, inevitably the Karta has to be discussed. Without discussing the Karta, Karma Yoga cannot be discussed. For if you are discussing the action, you cannot discuss the action without the doer. The doer is you, the individual. Therefore, lot of discussion is about chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5 is about you, the individual. The senses, the mind, the intellect. As he is discussing the senses, the mind and intellect, he also kept on saying in between that the senses, the mind and intellect is not you. These are all the instruments and you have nothing to do with. Even though he was saying in and through all this, but predominantly the focus was on you, the individual, Karma Yoga, and then first he spoke about karma, action. When he is talking about the action, the doer comes automatically. And then the doer is discussed in the doer is helped. How the doer is helped? 12 yajnas. The doer is helped. The 12 yajnas is the help to the doer. How to convert every action into worship. How to convert everything. All that he spoke. Chapter 4 called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. First Karma Yoga and then Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. From Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the maturity happened to Karma Sannyasa. So he spoke a lot about sannyasi. Where he started? From a depressed individual to Karma Yogi to sannyasi. After coming to the level of sannyasi, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, yoga of meditation. Are you able to follow the sequence? This is the sequence. Now in chapter 6, he is going to talk about Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. In and through this chapter, the first 6, from chapter 3 to chapter 6, the focus is on the individual, you. Second is Karma Yoga. Whenever we talk about Karma Yoga, what is implied in Karma Yoga? The effort. The effort. So when we are talking about the effort, we cannot bring in the discussion of Karma Yoga, the divinity. That's why from chapter 7, he takes a different angle from chapter 7. Prayatna. In Sanskrit, it's called Prayatna. You can call it as free will also. You can call it as Purushartha. You can call it as free will. You can call it as Karma Yoga. But all means the same. When you do this rightly, you mature. From a yogi, you rise to the level of sannyasi. The sannyasi in the advanced stage does dhyana meditation. This is the sequence. Is it okay till now? Action, detached action. Sorry. Action, objectively doing action, detachedly doing action, meditation. Sequence. First is act. Action means what? Within brackets. Action means, whenever in Vedanta they talk about action, within brackets, what is implied? Not Ragadvesha based action, not Vasana driven action, obligatory Niyatam Kuru Karmatvam. So whenever they talk about action, it is about obligatory action. So first stage is what? Do action. Do action means do your obligatory action. Do your obligatory action. Objectively do your obligatory action. And then do your obligatory action detachedly. Grades. Objectively you do. What is objectively doing? While doing, you are not interested in the result of the action while doing the action. That is objectively doing it. What is detached way of doing? What is detached way of doing? Whatsoever the result is, you are unconcerned about the result. Are you able to follow? In objectivity, you have a result in mind, but while you are acting, you are keeping the result aside. But you have a fruit in mind. In detached way of action, what is the detached way of action means? The detached way of action is whatsoever the result is, whatsoever the result of your action is, you are unconcerned by it. He's a sannyasi. And that sannyasi matures to do dhyana meditation. Are you able to follow? Even though it is entitled Dhyana Yoga, you will find only a couple of verses he is talking about actual procedural details of meditation. Even though it is 47 verses of Dhyana Yoga, at least you should spend a lot of time discussing about meditation a lot. But you will not find Krishna doing that. You will find Krishna talking beautifully about the sequence. I am talking about sequence in chapter 6 now. Yogi rises to Jnani. verses 1 to 9. Yogi rises to Jnani, verses 1 to 9. Bahiranga sadhana, antaranga sadhana for meditation, 10 to 18. By external disciplines and internal disciplines for meditation. That is verses 10 to 18. Controlled mind remains peaceful. Controlled mind remains peaceful. You do not meditate for mental peace. A peaceful person does meditation. அப்படியே ரிவர்ஸ் அடிக்கிறார். He's just reversing it. Are you able to follow? You don't meditate for mental peace. A person who is so peaceful is the one who is meditating. The controlled mind remains peaceful. Third topic. Fourth topic says that controlled mind does meditation, and that meditation reveals the self. It means what? You are so agitated, you are so disturbed. What is the solution? Do meditation. Yeah. Krishna is saying reverse. Krishna is saying after doing the karma yoga, sannyasa and all that, you will reach a level of mental peace. In that stage of mental peace, you do meditation. And then Arjuna asks, fantastic question. 33 to 47 is beautiful. Arjuna asks, can this restless mind be controlled? Arjuna, beautiful question Arjuna asks, and extraordinary answer Krishna gives. When we go there, we will see all that in detail. 40 to 47, the last topic. Yogi unites with Brahman. Yogina, remember the yogi, chapter 3, verse 3. Chapter 3, verse 3, yogi goes through the entire details. Chapter 6, 46, 45, 46, 47, unites with Brahman. One set of 6 chapters is over. This sequence. Are you able to follow the sequence now? This is Dhyana. This is called Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. The sequence.
Is that Brahmana?
Yes, you. This whole sex is called you. He is addressing you because you, from a despondent individual, you are taught to rise to the level of the yogi, you are helped to rise to the level of sannyasi, and then you are helped to become, you are helped not to realize the self, you are helped to recognize it. That is where meditation reveals the self. There is no cause and effect relationship between meditation and self-realization. When we go into the details, I'm just making statements now. Don't worry. When we go into the 40, we have 47 verses. I don't know how many months it will take to finish. So when we go there, I'll be explaining all this in details. So what is the important factor here? From despondent to yogi, yogi to sannyasi, and sannyasi to jnani. All this is referring to you, the individual, because you, the individual, is going through this. You, the individual, is going through these grades. No. Who is going through these grades? Not some third person. You, the individual. Therefore, the first 6 chapters is talking about Tvam, you. So, yeah. Before we get into discussing the chapter meditation, a few words about meditation. few words about meditation before we get into discussing meditation. Meditation, in the vision of Krishna, Vedanta is not a therapy. It is not the stress reliever. But sir, if meditation can relieve the stress, why not meditate? Meditation cannot relieve stress. Full stop. If meditation can relieve stress, there's no problem. They would have said, do it. What is the problem? But meditation cannot relieve stress. Why? Stress is because of the mind not under control, and meditation is not going to bring the mind under control. It is the knowledge that strengthens the intellect, and that strong intellect keeps the mind under control. Therefore, meditation, first thing about meditation is not a therapy. In the way that people talk about meditation today, they talk about meditation as a therapy. தூக்கம் வரலையா? Do meditation. Yeah. Relationship problem between husband and wife? Do meditation. Yeah. Boss is creating lot of trouble in the office. I am stressed. Solution: do meditation. Siddhi powers all I want. Mystical powers and all I want. Do meditation. In Vedanta, that is why even in this chapter entitled Dhyana Yoga, 2 verses he is going to talk about meditation. 45 verses he is not at all talking about meditation. It means in Vedanta we don't talk about meditation at all. We don't talk about meditation at all, because a person turns meditative. A person turns meditative, and that person need not be guided into. The person need not be guided into that meditation. You don't need a guide for meditation. You need a guide for Shravana and Manana. You need a guide for Shravana and Manana. You don't need a guide for meditation. That is why meditation classes will not go for number Vedanta study classes. Madri, meditation classes will not go on and on and on. Third day it is over. 5th day you are qualified to become a teacher. Why? Because you are only supposed to say, keep the thoughts under, keep the mind vacant. Keep the mind vacant of thoughts. In Vedanta, meditation is not vacating the thoughts. Meditation is replacing the thought. Meditation is not vacant. Meditation is not zero thought. Meditation is nothing but replacement of thought. What is the replacement of thought? Aham Sharira, Aham Jiva. Then you say, I am Atma Brahma. Are you able to follow? That is why mantra is given in meditation. It is not silencing. The mantra. The mantra means something for the mind to hold on to is the mantra. And in the world today, what people do in meditation classes? I want to have a vacant mind, sir. I want to be free from thoughts. Deep sleep pona, coma pona, you can be free of thoughts. In the waking state and dream state, there is no free of thoughts. Replacement of thought. Are you able to follow? So, in meditation, we will not be discussing as quietening the mind, stilling the mind, bringing the mind to zero, zero thought. We will not be discussing meditation from that angle at all. So, if any one of you is thinking on the angle meditation, sorry to disappoint you. And you can take a break from the classes for 1 year also. And a meditation, it will take me 1 year. So 2021, 2022 7th chapter you can rejoin. Why? Because we are not going to talk about meditation as in all these angles. It is not a therapy. It is not for a mystical experience. Meditation is not for a mystical experience. The meditation, I can experience God, no? Brahman, no? I experienced it, sir, and the experience, I just want to continue in that experience. Krishna says, you are not experiencing anything, you are hallucinating. First thing is get out of your hallucination. You are not experiencing anything. Why? Because experience implies the experiencer. Experience implies the experiencer, and experiencer is mithya, false. When the experiencer is false, the experience by default becomes faulty. Are you able to follow the logic? If the experiencer is real, the experiences can be real. If the experiencer himself is mithya, false, how can a false experiencer have a real experience? Therefore, meditation experience. Therefore, what do you understand? You will not experience anything in meditation. Vijay, Purida, are you listening? Nothing you can experience. Why? Because experience implies experiencer. And experiencer is the experience. Are you able to follow the sequence? Experience implies an experiencer. And experiencer is mithya, faulty, unreal. When the experiencer is unreal, how can there be a real experience? So even the mystical experiences that people claim is also in meditation. People claim these mystical experiences also has got nothing to do with the experiencer of Brahman. If you understand the experiencer as mithya, you will understand how experiences are mithya. But then we believe the experiencer is permanent. No, experiencer is real. Since the experience is real, we are looking for the experiences to be real. How do we understand the experiencer as mithya? How do we understand the experiencer as mithya? Formula. Formulas is already given in chapter 2. Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grannati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. You enter into something with the hope of Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya. Verse 22, chapter 2. You enter into the sharira, you enter into the body with a hope. And you try to fulfill that hope through very many methods. When nothing works, you leave this body and take up another body. from the village, I come to Chennai, thinking that Chennai will be better. Yeah. And then I realized Chennai is not better. From Chennai, Mumbai is better. Then I go to Mumbai. Then I realized Mumbai is also not better. Hong Kong is better. Yeah. Hong Kong is better. New York is better. San Francisco is better. Seattle is better. I go there. And then I realize that is also, are you able to follow? So, something that is constantly moving from one to the other, not knowing what it is trying to get, not knowing what it is trying to get, not knowing what it is trying to achieve, not knowing why it got into this, not knowing why it is getting disappointed and leaving, all these put together makes the experiencer mithya. When the experiencer is mithya, the experiences also is mithya. Mithya means temporary. And the மித்யாவும் நித்யாவும் சொல்லும்போது ஒரே மாதிரி இருக்கும் இல்லையா? மித்யா means temporary, nitya means permanent. For an experience to be permanent, there has to be a permanent experiencer. That is why even in these mystical experiences that people are trying, they say, I experienced it, sir, that day, but I am not able to experience it again. I experienced something. Yeah, something I experienced. But it is not happening again. How to get it? Vedanta says, what you think that you have experienced is not the experience of reality. It is another imaginary experience of the mind. Are you able to follow? Therefore, in meditation, we understand meditation is not therapy because it has no therapeutic value. It is not that you meditate and you can be free of stress from doing meditation. Now, why not meditate then? But what people don't realize is this brings about more. Like holiday is seen as stress buster and holiday itself causes more stress. Now what do we do? Are you able to follow? You go on a holiday to get relieved from stress and that holiday itself is causing more stress. Are you able to follow? The same logic. Second is meditation is not for any mystical experiences. Third, meditation and self-realization, no cause and effect relationship. It's not meditation, the cause, self-realization, the effect. Because you cannot bring in cause and effect relationship to action to realization. Meditation is an action. An action cannot give realization. With all this, all this has to be, all these are basic concepts, formulas, which we have to be very clear. Otherwise, what will happen? In this classroom, you will hear that meditation is not going to give you freedom from stress. And then straight after this, after the class, we can do meditation. No, sir. Yeah, Shankar. After the class, we should do meditations for a few minutes. They do it in the academy, no? Academy, he says, it is just to give he says it's a mockery of meditation, which is not meditation at all. And one of the things that you will be excused from is, yeah, You know, after the bhajans, when meditation happens, you can get out and walk. During the class, if you get out and walk, you will be thrown out. Huh? Why? Because there is no such thing called meditation. Sir, the classes are not, you take us so high, no, so close to Brahman, so close to Brahman. After the class, if we all sit in meditation for a few minutes, at the class, next class, we will not come only. Why? Because we would have attained moksha, no? But then what happens? You finish the class and then go to Ipalna weekly breakfast you eat, no? Previously, you all have to eat breakfast outside the class, and then you go to Saravana Bhavan to have breakfast. Some idli not good, some chutney not good. Brahmatvam, the experience of Brahman is shaken by the experience of Brahman is shaken by a coconut chutney. What Brahman, what meditation, what mockery. So, Krishna in chapter 6 is not going to talk about meditation in that angle at all. And from what angle he is going to talk about meditation, we will see that. So, what are all he is not going to talk, I am explaining now. And when we go into the verses, we will see what he is going to say. If we start reading what he talks as meditation, we will not want to do. We will not want to do meditation at all. This is the brief introduction about the word meditation. The word meditation. The word meditation is the synonymous for the word dhyana is, in English, it is single pointedness. In the way that we talk about it, meditation will be seen more as a worship, upasana. Worship in the sense, not worshipping a deity or something, that single pointedness. It is not a single thought, it is single pointedness is meditation. Understand the difference. Single thought is matra, amatra. Om. Silence. Om. 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 This is a flow of a thought. Here he will be talking about meditation, not from this angle. He will be talking about meditation from the angle of single pointedness. What is single pointedness? What is single pointedness? Very beautifully explained in verse 34, chapter 4. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. That's single pointedness. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Mundaka Upanishad talks about it as pariksha lokan karmachitan. Mundaka Upanishad. Single pointedness. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano. Section 2, part 1, section 2, mantra 10. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano. This is what is known as single pointedness. With this background about meditation, we will move into the verses. We will start studying the verses. So, yeah. First verse. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Venkat.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः। श्रीभगवानुवाच अनाश्रितः कर्मफलं कार्यं कर्म करोति यः स सन्न्यासी च योगी च न निरग्निर्न चाक्रियः।
The blessed Lord said, he who does his bounden duty without depending on the fruit of action, he is a sannyasi and a yogi. Not the one without fire and not the one without action. He who does his bounden duty without depending on the fruit of action, he is a sannyasi and a yogi. Not the one without fire and not the one without action. So, first indicator. For meditation, you need a balanced mind. And who have the balanced mind? A sannyasi has the balanced mind. By virtue of what he became a sannyasi? Number one, he who performs action without expecting result is a yogi, is a sannyasi. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karoti yaha. He is a sannyasi and he is a yogi. Now, Karma Yoga, we have seen. What is Karma Yoga? Working for a higher cause, working for a higher ideal. And what is the highest ideal that you can work for? Realizing your own nature. That is the highest ideal that you can work for. In order to realize your nature, you need a mind in a unique way. What is the unique way in which the mind has to be there? The astira and chanchala nature of the mind has to be. What is the nature of the mind? Astira and chanchala. Astira and chanchala means the two types of movement. Mind means constant movement. So that mind that is constantly moving has to be brought to a stage of no movement. No movement means a balanced mind. And what is balanced mind means? From worldly ambitions, from worldly goals, from worldly gains, it is shifted to inner purification. So, Karma Yoga is Loka Sangraha, and through Loka Sangraha, Chitta Shuddhi. I'll explain all that. Loka Sangraha means welfare of the world, and you work for the welfare of the world not because the world needs you to work for its welfare. You work for the welfare of the world as a means to an end. Welfare of the world is a means, the end is self-purification, inner purification. In this inner purified state, what happens? the emotional leaning on the world becomes less. Are you able to follow? Maturity means, inner purification means the emotional dependency, the emotional leaning on the world becomes less. In order to be not dependent on the world, what is the way to be not dependent on the world? Turn into a giver, not a taker, receiver. If you want to be independent, turn into a giver. If you are a taker, if you are a receiver, you will be dependent. You will be dependent. So instead of having the position of being as a taker from the world, receiver from the world, what you do? You turn into a giver. This is Karma Yoga. So what is Karma Yoga? From taker, receiver, you turn into a giver. When you turn into a giver, what happens? You are no more dependent on the world. Because a receiver is one who will be dependent. A giver is independent, free. Are you able to see the difference? So, what this should be means? Are you a giver or are you a taker? In Karma Yoga, the focus is on. In Karma Yoga, the focus is on giving. If I am not giving, what am I doing? But I am taking. I am a taker and I am not even aware that I am a taker. Therefore, the first lesson that is taught is what? You are a taker from birth. You are a taker from birth. Remember Swamiji's examples? Oxygen supply, pressure is maintained outside, pressure is maintained inside. Have you paid your oxygen bills? Oh, sir, bill vanda I will pay, sir. Nobody has given me the bill, therefore I am not paying the bill. What is this example? What is this example talking about a bill, oxygen bill? Have you paid your oxygen bill? What does it mean? From the birth, you are a taker at birth itself. The fact that you are born itself means you have become a taker. On top of it, don't ask anything further. Having realized that the very fact that you are born as an individual itself means you have taken, what you start doing now? You start focusing on giving. You start focusing on giving. And how do you give? Thought, word, and deed. How do you give? 3 ways you give. You give through thoughts, you give through words, you give through deeds. Where you can give by action, you give by action. Where you can give by word, you give by word. Where you give by thought, you give by. When you turn into a giver, you become self-sufficient. A self-sufficient person is a balanced person. A sannyasi means one who is balanced. Sannyasi means a balanced, mature individual. Balanced, mature individual, we are giving adjectives. You go to Upanishad will say sannyasi means an ordinary human being. You are qualified to be called as a human being only when you are Sannyasi, that is the stance from which the Upanishad takes off. Isavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat ena tyaktena bunjidam agrudha kasyasvid dhanam. I don't understand this. I don't follow this. Mantra 2. Kurvan neveha karmani shatasam jivaha. Do 100 years you have to do karma. 100 years means long innings of karma yoga you need to do. Why? Because you have not yet become a, in the language of Shakespeare, all the world will stand up and say, here is a man. Here is a man. Who is that man? Sannyasi is that man. This is the vision of Vedanta. Isavasya Upanishad. So, even though we keep talking as sannyasi means matured, independent and all that is adjectives we give to motivate ourselves. But the reality is what? Sannyasi means a very normal human being. Who is a normal human being? A detached human being. A detached human being. Detachment means detached from what? Not detached from objects, not detached from beings, detached from doing and the results of the doing. Again, I repeat, detached from doing and the results of the doing. So, first is freedom from the results of the doing. Second is freedom from the doership. So, yogi means, carefully follow, yogi means freedom from the results of the doing. Sannyasi means freedom from the doership itself. A person who is free from the doership has a balanced mind. The doership is agitating, disturbing. Are you able to follow? Who is a sannyasi? An ordinary human being. And who is that ordinary human being means freedom from doership, not freedom from doing. Anashrita karma palam, that's the verse. Are you able to connect now? Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karoti. It is not freedom from doing, it is freedom from the doership while doing. Freedom from the doership while doing. A person who is free from the doership, he is a sannyasi, he is a yogi. In one drop, he is combining both. And then he will segregate them also. Don't worry. In this verse, he is combining both. Later on, he will give the segregation between the two. And whenever Krishna talks, he talks the reality first, and then watering down happens. You will not be given the watered, toned down version first. First, you will be given the essence. And then, depending on the level, you will start diluting it. If Krishna starts diluting from the beginning itself, what will happen? See, as it is, when he's giving the essence, we are diluting. If he himself dilutes, now what we will do? We will end up having a justification to do desire-ridden actions only. Therefore, what he does, he starts it very beautifully. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyah sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyah. Yogi and sannyasi both do their obligations. Both do what they ought to do. They act on obligation, duties, responsibilities. They act on that. What is the difference? The yogi begins with the limited ideal of the welfare of the society. Sannyasi replaces the ideal with self-realization. That's the difference. The yogi begins with both of them do what they have to do. Both of them do what they ought to do. Na niragnihi na chakriyaha. I will come to that later. What is Agni means, what is Akriya means, I will come to that later. First is yogi and sannyasi. Yogi also does what he ought to do. Sannyasi also does what he ought to do. When we say you do that which you have to do, that which you ought to do means what? Your individual raga dvesha is immaterial. Your individual raga dvesha is of no consequence at all. For your individual raga dvesha is catered to already when the field of activity is chosen. Shreyam swadharmo vigunaha paradharmo bhayavaha. So your individual likes and dislikes is already accounted for. It is already taken care. Where it is already taken care? When you are choosing the field of activity, it is said, choose the field of activity according to your swadharma. So when you are asked to act according to your swadharma, you are asked to do something which is of your nature. Nature means your likes and dislikes is already taken care of. Therefore, again and again and again, we need not keep talking about having chosen a field of activity according to your swadharma. Are you able to follow? Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha. So you have chosen a field of activity according to your nature, swadharma. Now what? Do not allow your individual likes and dislikes to operate. Having chosen the field of activity according to your nature, that much of concession will be given. That's it. After that, that itself is a huge concession. No. What more than that itself is a very huge concession. That much is given. After that, what? Do not allow your individual likes and dislikes to. Are you able to follow? Do not allow your individual likes and dislikes to disturb. What is it? I chose this act of talking based on my swadharma. I'm giving an example. Having chosen to talk based on my swadharma, the individual conveniences do not matter after that. On a particular day, I feel like talking. On a particular day, I don't feel like talking. On a particular day, I don't feel like talking. I will send a message to Venkat. Stomach ache, toothache, yeah, some message I will send to Venkat. And one day I feel like talking. 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, one by one, camera is getting switched off. One by one, everybody is going away. I am still talking. 12 o'clock, you log in and see I am still talking. Are you able to follow? This is acting on individual likes and dislikes. Having chosen a field of activity according to your nature, directed for a higher ideal, what do you do after that? Do not operate on your individual likes and dislikes. When you do not operate on your individual likes and dislikes, what happens? the first control over the mind is achieved. The first control over the mind is achieved. The first impulses are controlled. When that first level of control is achieved, that first level of control itself is a motivation to go to the higher and higher and higher levels. What is implied in all these? As you are doing this Karma Yoga and all this, what is implied? Shravana and Manana is going on. That is implied. It is like saying, come to work at 9:30. That's all will be told. It will not be told, have a shower, wear neat clothes and come to work at 9:30. That will not be told. For that is implied. Are you able to follow? So Shravana Manana is implied here. So a yogi also does what he ought to do. Sannyasi also does what he ought to do. When yogi does what he ought to do, the ideal is different. What is the ideal? He says, I am working for the welfare of the world. I am working for inner purification. I am working for self-purification. This is the ideal of a yogi. Sannyasi, ideal changes. The ideal changes. What is the ideal change for a sannyasi? Sannyasi will not say, from impurity, I am going to become pure. Karma Yogi says, from impure, I am becoming pure. Are you able to see the difference? Karma Yogi says, from impurity, I am becoming pure. Asadoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from mortality to immortality. Lead me from impurity to purity. Lakshya Vakya, motto statement of Ramakrishna Mission. Vivekananda kept this as the Lakshya Vakya, motto of the Ramakrishna Mission, because working for the welfare of the society was the mission. After going through this process, sannyasi reaches a height. Sannyasi reaches a level. What is the level of maturity he reaches? It is not from impure, I am going to become pure. It is not from limited, I am going to become unlimited. It is not from bondage, I am going to become liberated. Pure, I am already. Liberated, I am already. Are you able to see the difference? For a Karma Yogi will laugh at this. Pure, I am already. Na Karma Yogi will laugh. Sannyasi will be inspired. What? It is recognizing the purity, not becoming pure. Example, when Adi Shankaracharya went to meet his guru, Govinda Bhagavad Pada asked him, who are you? Because first time when you meet you have to ask, no, who are you? Visiting card we have to give. There we give the visiting card and say, this is me. What was Shankaracharya's visiting card? Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhoktam chidananda rupaha shivoham. That is the sannyasi. At that time, Adi Shankaracharya was not a realized person. He went to Guru seeking realization, but we call him a sannyasi. Why? Because he says, it is not from impurity I am going to become pure. I want to recognize purity which I am already. Name mrityu shanka name jati vedah pita naiva me naiva mata na janma chidananda rupah shivoham shivoham. Are you able to follow? All this he puts it very beautifully. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyah sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. He is a sannyasi and he is a yogi. Both do obligations, but the doer is different. The doing is the same, but the doers are different. Doing is the same. That is why when we talk from the angle of action, it looks like both are same. From the angle of action, both are same. From the angle of doer, both are not the same. That is why he says, yogi means in the initial stages of spiritual development, sannyasi is advanced stage. But both of them do one thing in common. What? Both of them inspired by their ideals. Work tirelessly. They work tirelessly, completely devoid of attachment of the fruits of their pursuits. That is why to Karma Yogi, Karma Pala is discussed to Karma Yogi. Are you able to follow now? To a Karma Yogi, the Karma Pala is discussed. And when we discuss the Karma Pala means the fruit of the action, the result of the action. And when we talk about the fruit of the action, result of the action, we tell Karma Yogi. What do we tell Karma Yogi? Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma pala heturbuhu ma te sangosva karmani. Chapter 47, chapter 2, verse 47. See, some of these verses I keep repeating it so that you know these are all the formulas, the Landa formula. If you are not clear on these formulas, right through we will not be able to follow what Krishna is trying to say. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Your right is in doing only. As a doer, you have no right over the result. As a doer, you do not determine the doer can only do. Look at the law. He says the doer doesn't determine the result. Here, yogi, becoming a yogi itself is difficult because we say, sir, as the doer, I determine the result. No. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana. Your adhikara is in the right is given to you only to do, not to decide the result, not to arrogate the result. Are you able to follow? Not to decide the result, not to arrogate the result. Yogi. Who is a sannyasi? This is a yogi. This is a sannyasi. Na niragnihi na chakriya. What does the sannyasi say? Agni always refer to the ideal. Yajna karma. Agni is a reference to Yajna karma. Not the one who drops his obligations. Sannyasi is not the one who has left his obligations. Arjuna wanted to leave his obligations. Are you able to connect how Agni means Yajna karma? For Yajna karma, what is the main thing in Yajna? Fire. Agni means ideals, obligations, doing that which you. So, na niragnihi means not the one who has left the actions. So sannyasi is not the renouncer of actions. It is not Swamiji. It is not renunciation of action. It is renunciation in action. Adha na niragnihi na chakriyaha. Na chakriyaha. You cannot get away from action. That is also already explained. Nahi kaschit chanam api jatu tishtatya akarma krit. You cannot be inactive even for a split second. And if you try to be inactive, you are becoming a hypocrite. For you cannot be inactive. Therefore, trying to be inactive or trying to move away from your obligations, all this is not, doesn't make you a karma yogi or a sannyasi. It means what? Arjuna, meditation for you is battlefield. Are you able to see now? Arjuna, what is meditation for you? Doing that which you ought to do. What is it that you ought to do? Fight. So a real sannyasi is not a renouncer of actions. A real sannyasi is not the renouncer of obligations. Who is a real sannyasi? Doer, doing that which we ought to do. Anashrita karma palam. Anashrita karma palam means not expecting any benefit. Sir, if I act without expecting any benefit, what will happen? Go back to Sravana Manana, he will say. Why? Because without expecting a result, if I act, what will I get? It means you are using this technique to expect a result. So, Anashrita karma palam means what? Not expecting any benefit at all. Number one. Number two, whatsoever benefit comes, it is taken as prasada buddhi. It is taken as whatsoever the result comes, taken as prasada buddhi. I am working for the welfare of the world. I am nailed in the cross like Jesus Christ. Prasada buddhi. Or I am glorified. The whole world is falling at my feet. Prasada buddhi. So, anashrita karma palam means not expecting any material benefit in any form. Direct or indirect, gross or subtle. Sir, I don't want anything from others, sir. I only want them to recognize that I have done something for them. People say that, no, I don't want anything from my children, sir. What do I want from my children? But only thing I want, only thing that they should do is what? They should recognize that I have done something. At least they should recognize that I am existing as a human being who has done something for them. Anashrita karma palam means all these expectations do not exist. Are you able to follow? Anashrita karma palam. Sa sannyasi cha yogi cha. He is a sannyasi, he is a yogi. To put it in classic Vedantic terms, grihastha sannyasi is the Vedanta vision. Are you able to see now? Being a grihastha sannyasa is what he is. He is not talking about the institution of sannyasa. He is talking about grihastha sannyasa. Grihastha sannyasa means where I am detached. Na niragnihi. Na niragnihi means not the one who has given up the yajna karma. Sannyasi means, yajna karma means obligations. Not the one who has given up his obligations. Nachakriyaha. Not a renouncer of actions either. Dhyana Yoga, under chapter, what you should have said, sit with your eyes closed, breathe in. Idallam you should have told, no? He is not saying all that. And he is not going to say any of that till 15, 16 verses. And then from next class, which we will go, he will bring in a very subtle, beautiful distinction between yogi and sannyasi. So yogi and sannyasi, the subtleties and all, he will bring up. And this is called yoga. And this is called yoga of meditation. Is it okay? Venkat, is there anything that we have? Yeah. Bharat. Why is the definition of a yogi and a sannyasi given? Why is the definition of a yogi and a sannyasi given? He is continuing the sequence of. He's continuing the sequence. What is the sequence? From a bhogi to a yogi, yogi to a sannyasi, from sannyasi to a jnani. Since he's talking about these gradations, he's bringing in these two words, yogi and sannyasi. Actually speaking, later on only he is going to define yogi and sannyasi very clearly. In this verse, he has combined yogi and sannyasi together. Whoever does what they ought to do can be called as a yogi, can be called as a sannyasi. And what is the difference between yogi and sannyasi? Yogi works for a yogi, believes that from impurity he has to become. From impurity to purity is yogi. Sannyasi is recognizing purity as my inherent nature. That is the difference. Is it okay, Bharat?
Guruji, the point I was, that's why I wanted some more. The reason why I've asked this question, so far, whatever we have seen is that we are looking at the realization of how one can train oneself.
Yes.
Here is the first time where Krishna is saying how to recognize somebody else. You see, the different concept here completely changes the perspective of what we are. So far we have said, you should train yourself. Look at yourself, look at inward, look at whatever you have to do for training oneself.
Yes.
Here, he seems to be saying, am I completely wrong? He seems to be saying, how do you recognize another person which is not required? Because all along, the self-realization doesn't require anybody else. And even the particular verse also says that anashrita, which is, there is no dependence on anything. So
Yes.
it's an individual.
Yes.
So I was a little confused, very confused on to saying,
Yes.
why is this recognition given to recognize the other person as a yogi or a sannyasi or whoever it is? And why should there be a definition? Because
Yes.
if I have to, so long the practice and the teachings of has been only to say, how do you discipline oneself? How do you discipline and get to that? So that is where my doubt came in, Guruji.
Now, these distinctions are given to recognize where I am in the path. The definition of yogi and sannyasi is given to recognize not somebody else as in whether they are a yogi or a sannyasi. In fact, Vedas, Vedanta addresses only the individual. It never talks about the other at all. It never addresses the society. It never addresses the collective. It is always the individual. Even if there are 3,000 people in the classroom, it is addressed to that 3,000 individuals only. But why they give this distinction? That individual needs to recognize where they stand. Number one. Number two, the difficulty in spiritual path is everybody is a self-certified spiritual person. Everybody certifies themselves. Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta, Upanishad says, you cannot certify yourself. There is an established path. And if you have to grow, you need to know this path and follow the path. Just as I cannot declare that I am an engineer. Somebody has to certify that I am an engineer. Who's that certifying body? Somebody who has become engineer before me, no? Similarly, those who have realized the truth, what they have done, they have created the system. So they say, this person is a bogi, this person is a yogi, this person is a sannyasi. You are correct in from one angle, if you are meaning from that angle. It is not different individuals. The same individual, the same jiva, at one stage will be called as a bogi, the same individual at another stage will be called as a yogi, the same individual at another stage will be called as a sannyasi. So it is the same individual in three different stages. It is like same Arvindan in 10th class, the same Arvindan in 12th class, the same Arvindan in university also. In that sense, these three. Is it okay, Bharat? Was it helpful in any way?
Sorry, I was not able to unmute.
No problem.
Yeah, so, yeah, correct. Yeah, I think I need to understand this from what you have really said now, because it was a little confusing, but thank you very much.
Right. Raghavan. Single thought, does it not lead to single pointedness? Raghavan.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I was one is of course I'm this mithya word all along. For some reason, I always thought it to be a lie or unreal, but I think it means temporary from what you have mentioned. And the other doubt that I had is I'm still a little bit confused between single thought and single pointedness, because I mean, isn't it a progression? And I mean, would a single, because having a goal, having an aim, or being a single pointed, I mean, is it a bad thing or is it?
Single pointedness is what we are all aspiring to reach now. We are all aspiring to become single pointed. Single pointed means all my activities from the time I wake up till I go to sleep, all the very many activities that I do, all are connected to one ideal. That is called single pointedness. From the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I brush right from folding the bed to brushing my teeth to eating to working to going out and not going out. Anything that I do and anything that I avoid doing. Something I do, something I avoid doing. Now, whatsoever I choose to do, whatsoever I choose not to do, both are for, if it is all this, if it is for one ideal, then it is called single pointedness. I differentiated between single pointedness and single thought. Single pointedness, in its logically speaking, in the advanced state, it may lead to single thought. But why I brought this differentiation is because people without having the single pointedness, straight away in the meditation, they are trying to get to the single thought stage, which is not going to, which is a very dangerous practice, which is hurtful to oneself. So to bring about these distinctions, I was just trying to use some words by saying single thought will not lead a single thought and single pointedness. And I said single thought means sound silence. That's single thought. Om. My thought is going. Are you listening? Then I say Om. Time and hour the parango. 9:19. Om. Yeah. This is not single. This is not single thought. Why? Because each and every chant, different thought. Are you able to follow? It is not meditation. So just to bring about this distinction, yeah. Om. Fifth thought. School to send the prepare the daughter to the school and then come Om. This is called lack of concentration. Are you able to see, Raghavan? Is it okay? Yeah. The last one, Chandralekha. If both do karma without interest in result, what is the difference between the two? The difference between karma, the difference between karma yogi and sannyasi is this. A karma yogi has an ideal of welfare of the world. Sannyasi works for the goal of self-realization alone. There is no welfare of the world that he is working for. That is why in the initial stages, sannyasi will look like a very selfish person and karma yogi will look like a very advanced practitioner, sacrificial person. Because at least the karma yogi is working for the welfare of the world, sannyasi is working for his own liberation. But then karma yogi is one who is working for the welfare of the society, dedicated to the welfare of the society. A sannyasi works for self-realization as the ideal. For achieving the ideal of self-realization, sannyasi may also work for the welfare of the world, but he doesn't intend to work for the world. He doesn't intend to work for the welfare of the world. Welfare of the world is more incidental. That is the difference. But both of them are working for, both of them are in action-wise, they do the same thing. In ideal only, they are different. In ideal wise, they are different. Is it okay, Ma?
Sir, the sannyasi is not interested in the world's welfare. He is only interested in his own self-realization. So what does he do? Only Shravana and Manana. அப்ப எப்படி இப்ப நிறைய ஆசிரமம் எல்லாம் நாங்க அந்த சாப்பாடு போட்டோம் கோவிட்ல இது பண்ணோம் அது பண்ணோம்னு சொல்றாளே are they then sannyasi or they are only karma yogi?
They are all karma yogis. The moment I start working for the welfare of the world, it is a karma yogi. I can be a ochre robe karma yogi. That is possible. Just because I am in an ochre robe doesn't be a, that is why in this, just before concluding the verse, I said a sannyasi in the grihastha ashrama. If sannyasa is possible in the grihastha ashrama, karma yoga is possible in ochre robe also, no? And most of these people in the ochre robe, they are not sannyasis, they are only karma yogis working for the welfare of the world.
So a sannyasi primarily doesn't work for the world. He works for his own self-realization.
He works for self-realization.
And his karma is only Shravana and Manana.
Yes. Yes. Karma, only correction here is sannyasi is not working for his realization. Sannyasi is working for realization. There is a difference between the two. Don't say a sannyasi is working for his realization. Realization means dropping the hisness completely. So he is working to drop the hisness is the sannyasi. So it is wrong to say sannyasi is working for his realization. If at all we have to say sannyasi is working to drop hisness or word, I don't know. If at all there is a word called hisness, we will discover the word. If it is not there, so what? We will add up one word to the dictionary. A sannyasi is one who is working to drop that. So he will not say, I am working for my realization. He will say, realize it is working to recognize the true nature. So there is the difference. Is it okay, ma?
So karma yogi does not have that goal.
No, no. Karma yogi is welfare of the world.
Welfare of the world, and he has the doership.
Yes, he has a doership. Definitely karma yogi has a doership. If there is no doership, he has become a sannyasi. If there is no doership, he has become a sannyasi. Karma yogi will definitely have a doership. That is where he goes through the punya karma, the merits of the good actions he gets. All that happens because of the kartrutva. Sannyasi is one who is no kartrutva. He may also work for the welfare of the world minus the kartrutva. Is it okay, ma?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
With this, we conclude for today and we continue with verse number 2 next session.